Okay, today's lesson is going to be a multitude of things. So the things you're going to need from the drive are the 7 content analysis PowerPoint, the questions to go with that, and the number 4 ethics PowerPoint and the questions to go with that as well. You're also going to have to access some videos which are at the top. But I'll tell you which one to go to as you go. So the first thing we're going to be talking about today is the content analysis. So we've done how to analyze quantitative data, which is the maths, the mean, the median, and the standard deviation and what they mean. And this is how to analyze qualitative data, which is a little bit more difficult. So here's a little review of what it is. So the mean, we add all numbers and we divide them by the total. The median, we arrange the numbers lowest to highest and it is our middle number. And the standard deviation, remember, the lower the number, the closer the rest of the scores are to the mean. So the first thing that we have to do is remind ourselves how to do a focus group. So remember, to do a focus group, we have a facilitator asking questions to a small group of people, usually around 6 to 12. It's an informal discussion to discuss the answer of those questions, and there's a recorder that is recording the responses. And that's exactly what this is. So the question is, how do we analyze words? So we do it all the time in English. We talk about, hello Juno. We talk about words and what they mean. In this case, we are analysing exactly what the person is talking about. So this is what a content analysis is. It is a frequency table. It's the graph that we went through in one of the PowerPoints a while ago. It's a frequency table. Now, I haven't actually got the process written down as such. I'm going to tell it to you and you're going to note it down as I'm saying it to you. And I'm sorry if I'm saying it fast. You're just going to have to pause me, rewind me, and play it all over again, because that is the beauty of watching me on YouTube. I can do it as fast as I can. Okay, so the first thing, so step 1 in a content analysis is to read your data. Step 1, read the data, okay? Step number 2 is to create the frequency table. So you create the frequency table with the theme, so what it is that you're talking about, an example of what that is, and the frequency, so how often it happens. So step 1, you've read your data. Step 2, you've created your frequency table. Step 3 is to read through the data again, counting how many times these things come up. So if I'm doing research on my theme park and why it's not making as much money in summer as winter, then, you know, some people have brought up money. So there's 5 people that brought up the fact that it costs so much money. And then there is, 8 people that have brought up that the weather is too hot. Okay, so step 1, read the data. Step 2, make the frequency table. Step 3, read the data and writing down the themes that happen. Step 4 is actually, or step 4 or step 5, so you could read the data over again and again. You can come up with as many things as you like. But step 4 or step 5 is usually about what you're going to do with that data then. So I would say from here, like, oh, maybe I need to lower my prices down because people are talking about the cost, and maybe I need to have more shade around. So have more shade, have some water parks, have air-conditioned rooms, do that kind of thing. So I would have my data analysis and make my conclusions based on what people are saying. Okay, so quantitative data is normal. It's fine. It's normal. It's fine. It's easy because you're talking about like the average, and this is the average, and this is how well people have done, and that's gonna to support our hypothesis. Qualitative data is harder. So remember, step 1, step 1, read your data. So watch your tape, read the transcript, step 1. Step 2, make your frequency table. So what is on the screen? Step 3, read your data again and put your frequencies in the table. Step 4, create a conclusion based on that. And that is content analysis. So the questions on this one are fairly stock standard. So these are all asking the same thing except number 3, which is talking about the Delphi technique, and you would talk about a content analysis at the end, but you don't have to actually talk about it as much as you do in the first ones. So all you're doing here is talking about the 4 steps. You're literally just talking about the 4 steps and how we create conclusions based on that. So have a go at those. Show it to a student that was in the class, see what they got, come and show me, and we can figure out how you're going. The second thing we're going to do in this lesson is the ethical considerations. So ethics is all about the safety of the participants in your study. So it's the standards that guide individuals to good, desirable, acceptable conduct, and it makes sure that the psychological and the physical well-being of participants are protected during their involvement of our research. So all investigations and all experiments have to go through the Australian Psychological Society. There's a code of ethics that all psychologists and researchers must follow in all aspects of their research. So they write their plans, and if it doesn't stick to these, then they have to scrap it and start again. So these ethical guidelines cover all aspects of the research. So the research itself that's happening, the responsibility of the researcher themselves, the rights of the research participants, and the use of animals in research as well. So what responsibilities do we have as the researcher? Number 1, so these are ethical considerations. So if I'm asking you to list ethical considerations, these are the things I'm asking you to list. So confidentiality. All participants have the right to privacy. Any personal information or details of their involvement cannot be disclosed unless written consent is given. So this is controlled through anonymity. So I give you a participant number, and that is who you're referred to. Okay, so you are now participant 523. You are not, I don't know, Lucinda. You are participant 523. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do, you are my participant. Restricted access to the information, so making sure it is locked away, making sure it's only the researcher who can access it. Restricted, so the storage of it, making sure that it's locked, making sure that it's safe, and the disposal of the data, so making sure that it is shredded, not just chucked in the bin. So confidentiality is about privacy and making sure that everything of the participants and who they are is protected. The second one is voluntary participation. So we need to ensure that all participants are voluntarily participating in the research, that they're not forced, they're not pressured to take part in the study. And the researcher must ensure that there is no negative consequences if the prospective participants do not agree. So if they don't want to take part in the study, I or the researcher cannot give them a consequence for that. So if we come to our investigation and you choose not to take part, that's fine. I can't give you any consequence for that. Okay, so the voluntary participation is about voluntarily doing it. The third one is the right to withdraw. So participants have the right to withdraw from a study at any time. So this means that they can participate freely and do the research and choose to withdraw themselves before. So even before the study starts, they're withdrawn. During, in the middle of it, so if they decide halfway through, nah, I don't actually want to do this, then they can withdraw. And even after, so when I've collated, when I've collated my data, I'm starting to analyze it, a participant calls me up and goes, I don't want my data to be part of that, then I have to get rid of it. Okay, so they need to have a right to withdraw at any time, and they need to we need to make sure that there are no negative consequences after that as well, because they need a right to withdraw. The fourth one, I think this is number 4, is informed consent. So participants must be appropriately informed of the type of study, the reasons for the research before agreeing to participate. So there's an information sheet. It lets them know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and what it's going to entail, what's gonna happen. Okay, so they have to sign the informed consent form, and if the participant is under the age of 16, they have to have parental consent as well. Okay, so remember, under the age of 16, they need parental consent as well as their own consent as well. Number 5, 6 is deception. So sometimes giving information about the study beforehand may influence the participant's response in an undesired way and affect the accuracy of results. So deception is actually okay to a point. If it is deceiving them too much, then it's unethical, and how unethical that is and at what point it is completely up to you. So deception is okay, and it's used when the researcher doesn't want to inform the participants about some aspect of the study to ensure the accuracy of the results. So if I'm studying conformity, I don't want to tell you that it's about then I don't want to tell you that it's about I don't want to tell you that it's about stop it. I don't want to tell you that it's about conformity, because then you're going to conform because you know that it's about conformity, or you're not going to. The next one is debriefing. So we need to inform the participants about the purpose of the research and the procedures that will be conducted. So that is in informed consent. So it's in the information sheet. And we need to, so debriefing is about telling about the results that we got, the conclusions that we've drawn, and we need to provide them with any assistance if they need to. So give them results, let them know if the hypothesis was supported, what kind of conclusions we got from that research, and if they are having any psychological, mental health problems, if they have any physical problems afterwards, or they're just not sure and want to ask questions, we need to make sure that they know where that extra assistance is and where they can access it. The next one is accurate reporting. So researchers, we have a duty to accurately report the results at the end of the study. So if the hypothesis isn't supported, we need to make sure that we are being honest and saying that it is not supported. And we can't pick and choose our data just to support it. So we need to be honest and we need to report accurately. And the last one is professional conduct. So researchers are expected to conduct themselves in a professional manner at all times. And an example of a experiment that was not conducted professionally is the Stanford Prison Experiment. So you'll have a chance to have a look at it after. We did in class, but basically Zimbardo did not act professionally. So the next thing on here is a video, and you'll find it in videos, and I'm pretty sure it is this one. Yes, so 5 psychology experiments that you couldn't do today. It's a little 7 to 8 minute video, so have a look at that. It's quite interesting. It'll show you some experiments that couldn't be done now because they're unethical. So go do that. And I'm just going to keep talking. So using animals in research. Obviously, animals can't give consent. They don't know that they have the right to withdraw. So using animals in research is quite a different thing. And a lot of psychological research actually uses animals because they're pretty much the same as us, right? So about 5 to 10% of psychological research actually involves animals as participants. So we use mice, rats, hamsters, pigeons, monkeys, dogs, rabbits, monkeys, pigeons, rats. We use every kind of animal possible because they have a brain, and psychology is about the brain and how we behave. And we act like animals most of the time. So ethical guidelines for animals is different to how it is for humans, because obviously they don't know what's going on. So we need to make sure that the pain, the discomfort and the stress for these animals are kept to a minimum. And ways that you can do this, so you need to be writing this down as I say it, So ways that you do this is by providing comfortable sleeping place with shelter, providing enough food, providing enough water, and making sure that the animal is comfortable. If there is any pain, we need to keep that to a minimal. But if an animal is exposed to pain, discomfort, or stress, it's because there are no alternative methods available and the research is justified, which isn't really fair. But I mean, it's gone to an ethics board and they've said, hey, yeah, this is kind of important for us to research. So yeah, you can use an animal and you can make it be in pain and discomfort and stress, and that's fine. However, it's not possible to generalize and apply the results of animal studies to humans. We can't actually do that because if laboratory animals die after prolonged sleep loss, is it guaranteed that we're going to? We have bigger brains, we have more energy, it's going to take more or less time. So we can't actually generalize that. And similarly, if drugs cause a brain disorder in animals, like, should it be banned for human use or should we trial it on humans first? Like, there's a line and you're not sure when to cross that. So whether you want to go down that way is up to you. So another really interesting video to watch is the Stanford Prison Experiment. It is not here, or is that? Yeah, so you can go to video play or back and watch the one that I have, or there is actually a really good documentary, like, movie on it. It used to be on Netflix, or it used to be on Netflix, but now it's not anymore. But if you can find it, or I'm pretty sure I've got it downloaded, so let me know and I can give it to you, or look it up and find it yourself. So the next thing that you're going to need is number 4, question examples, and this is all ethical issues. So they're asking you specifically about ethics. They're asking you to list different ethical issues. Have a look at the ages, so remember parental consent, and for each one I want you to have a go at using a different ethical issue. So the most that they're ever going to ask you about is 3. So if you cannot remember any of them, try and memorize 3. But if you can't remember any terms but you can describe them, then you can do that. And if you can't remember any at all and it's asking you about ethics, you can go to, so write this down as another ethical issue, do no harm. So the aim of psychological research is to cause no psychological and no physical harm to participants. So do no harm. You can write that down, get 1 mark. You can write it down and explain it and get 2 marks. And then just leave the rest if you want to, okay? So if you can't remember any of the other ones, do no harm. But if you can remember the word for one, that's 1 mark. If you can remember the description, but not the word for it, that's another mark, okay? And that is ethics and content analysis. So again, fill this out, show it to someone in the class that was there today, or come and show me. If it still doesn't make sense and you're not sure what I'm talking about, please come and see me, because I'm not going to be able to help you if you're not telling me that you need help. Reggie, can you get your head off my keyboard, please? Okay, so yeah, enjoy.